Samurai by birth, penniless by fate, how did a warrior scraping by on a farm launch the empire behind today's Mitsubishi? When Japan's ports flung open in 1853, the samurai lost everything, except one man's audacious vision. He got arrested for daring to challenge corruption, and what he learned in that jail cell changed everything. No more swords. Japan needed ships, coal, banks, factories, every link in the chain. He started a shipping firm, then bought a coal mine, then shipyards, then insurance. It was madness and genius. In 1873, he gave it a name, Mitsubishi. And that three-diamond logo, it wasn't just a brand, it was a promise to rebuild a nation. Born into a samurai family in 1835, Yataro Iwasaki faced a harsh reality in Tosa province. His ancestors had served lords for centuries, but his family wasn't wealthy anymore. They'd been reduced to farming. His world was about to get turned upside down. Japan had been locked away from the world for over 200 years. No foreigners allowed in, no Japanese allowed out. Then in 1853, Commodore Perry's black ships steamed into Tokyo Bay. Everything changed overnight. The old feudal system started crumbling. Samurai lost their status. Their income disappeared. Most didn't know what to do next, but Iwasaki saw something different. While other samurai mourned their lost privileges, he challenged corruption in his local government. After 7 months in jail for confronting these officials, he studied under reformer Toyo Yoshida. Yoshida filled his head with revolutionary ideas about opening up the then-closed nation and of development and industry. That prison experience taught him something crucial. Political power was dangerous and unpredictable. Business was the real path forward. By 1870, Japan was racing to catch up with the West. The new Meiji government needed everything: roads, factories, ships, coal. Someone had to move all these goods around the country. That's when Iwasaki made his move. He took over Tsukumo Shokai, a small trading house run by the Tosa clan. In 1872, he renamed it Mitsukawa Shokai, then Mitsubishi Shokai in 1873. Most people would have been happy running a simple shipping company, but not Iwasaki. Here's what made him different. He understood that shipping alone wasn't enough. Japan needed an entire industrial system. Ships needed coal to run. Coal needed mines to extract it. Mines needed equipment to operate. Everything connected to everything else. Western companies already had these connections. How could a newly opened Japan compete? Iwasaki made a decision that seemed crazy at the time. He wouldn't just ship cargo for other people. He'd build the whole ecosystem himself. Ships, coal mines, shipyards, insurance companies, whatever it took. This was massive, risky, and completely unprecedented in Japan. Most businesses focused on one thing. Iwasaki wanted to control the entire supply chain. The timing was perfect, but the stakes were enormous. Japan's modernization created huge opportunities, but also fierce competition. Foreign shipping companies dominated the profitable routes. The government was handing out contracts to whoever could deliver results. Success meant wealth and influence. Failure meant bankruptcy and obscurity. Iwasaki started small, but thought big. His shipping company began winning contracts by undercutting foreign competitors. These weren't just business deals, they were proof that Japan could rely on its own companies for critical operations. But here's where Iwasaki's genius really shows. While he was building his shipping empire, he was already planning the next moves. In 1881, he purchased the Takashima coal mine. This wasn't random expansion, it was brilliant strategy. His ships needed coal to operate. By owning the mines, he controlled his fuel supply and costs. 9 years later, he added Hashima Island, another rich coal deposit. The three-diamond logo he chose tells the whole story. It combined elements from the Tosa clan's three-leaf crest with his own family's three stacked rhombuses. Past and future, tradition and innovation. This wasn't just a company symbol, it represented his vision for Japan itself. By 1884, Iwasaki had leased the Nagasaki shipyard, laying the foundation for what would become Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. He diversified into marine insurance, iron mills, finance, and warehousing. He even invested in employee education and became the first Japanese company to give worker bonuses. What Iwasaki created wasn't just a business, it was a new model for Japanese industry. The penniless samurai had built something that would soon catch the government's attention in ways he never imagined. Here's what happens when you give a smart businessman a government contract. Everything changes. In 1874, Japan needed ships to transport troops to Taiwan. The government had a choice: hire expensive foreign companies or trust a local startup called Mitsubishi. They chose Mitsubishi. That single decision transformed a small shipping firm into the backbone of Japan's industrial empire. After Yataro Iwasaki died in 1885, his brother Yanosuke took control. Under Yanosuke, Mitsubishi consolidated shipping and formed a holding company in 1886, setting the stage for its Zaibatsu expansion. The Iwasaki family wasn't just running a shipping company anymore, they were building something completely new, a business empire that owned everything from coal mines to banks. Think of it like a giant octopus, with tentacles reaching into every part of the economy. But this octopus had a plan. The timing was perfect. Japan was racing to modernize. The government needed infrastructure fast. Railways, factories, power plants. Someone had to build all this stuff. Traditional Japanese workshops couldn't handle projects this massive. Foreign companies were expensive and couldn't be trusted with sensitive military contracts. That left one option: create Japanese companies big enough to do the job. Mitsubishi started connecting the dots through vertical integration. Ships needed coal, so they bought the Takashima mine in 1881. Ships needed repairs, so they leased the Nagasaki shipyard in 1884, then bought it outright 3 years later. Ships needed insurance, so they created Tokyo Marine Insurance Company in 1879, Japan's first non-life insurance company. Each piece supported the others across coal, shipping, shipbuilding, banking, and insurance. This wasn't random expansion, this was systematic empire building. But here's where things get interesting. Japan wasn't just modernizing for peaceful reasons. The country wanted to become a world power. That meant building a modern military, and modern militaries needed advanced machinery. Ships, weapons, engines, steel. The government looked around for companies capable of producing this equipment, and guess who was ready? The Russo-Japanese War in 1904 to 1905 changed everything. Japan shocked the world by defeating a major European power. Between 1896 and 1904, ship output rose enormously. But victory came with a price. The country needed even more advanced military equipment. Mitsubishi shipyards started producing warships. Their foundries began casting artillery. Their engineers designed more powerful engines. The company that started by shipping and trading was now building the tools of modern warfare. By the 1910s and 1920s, Mitsubishi was producing industrial engines, locomotives, and naval equipment. They weren't just making these things, they were making them better than anyone else in Japan. The Zaibatsu structure gave them huge advantages. They controlled their raw materials through mining operations. They had their own steel mills and foundries. They could coordinate massive projects across dozens of facilities. Western companies had to buy materials from suppliers and coordinate with partners. Mitsubishi owned the entire supply chain. The machine tool and ordnance divisions grew rapidly. Japan was fighting in China. The military needed tanks, artillery, aircraft engines. Mitsubishi delivered everything. Their factories employed thousands of workers. Their research departments pushed technological boundaries. They weren't just making weapons, they were making Japan into an industrial superpower. Then came the ultimate test. In 1939, Mitsubishi engineers began work on a new fighter aircraft. The Imperial Japanese Navy wanted something fast, maneuverable, and capable of long-range missions. What they got was the A6M-0, one of the most advanced fighter planes in the world. The Zero could outfly anything the Americans had in 1941. Its range allowed Japanese forces to project power across the Pacific. For a few years, it dominated the skies. By World War II, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries had become Japan's largest machinery manufacturer. They operated dozens of factories across the country. They employed tens of thousands of workers. They produced locomotives for domestic railways and turbines for power plants. But increasingly, their focus shifted to military production: tanks, artillery, ship engines, aircraft parts. The Three Diamonds weren't just a corporate logo anymore, they represented Japan's industrial might. But this empire was about to face its greatest test yet. Between 1945 and 1970, Mitsubishi experienced one of the most dramatic corporate transformations in history. Complete destruction, followed by total rebirth. This wasn't just about rebuilding factories. This was about reimagining what a modern corporation could become. August 9, 1945, the atomic bomb exploded over Nagasaki. Ground Zero sat just 500 meters from Mitsubishi's main shipyard. The blast vaporized factories, killed thousands of workers, and symbolically ended Japan's military-industrial age. But the real destruction came later. The Allied occupation forces had a plan to prevent Japan from ever threatening world peace again. They would dismantle the Zaibatsu system that had powered Japan's war machine. Mitsubishi was target number one. The Allies weren't messing around. They understood that Mitsubishi's Zaibatsu structure had made Japan's rapid militarization possible. One family controlling ships, steel, coal, banking, and aircraft manufacturing. Too much power in too few hands. In 1946, they disbanded Mitsubishi Honsha, the holding company that controlled everything. The Iwasaki family lost their empire overnight. Workers couldn't even use the Mitsubishi name or the Three-Diamond logo. The company that had dominated Japanese industry for 75 years was officially erased. But here's where things got really complicated. In 1950, Allied occupation split Mitsubishi Heavy Industries into West, Central, and East Japan Heavy Industries. Each one operated independently. They couldn't coordinate projects, they couldn't share technology, they couldn't even communicate officially. The fragmented companies struggled badly, talent scattered to competitors, experienced engineers left for other industries, projects that required coordination between multiple facilities became impossible. The shipyard in Nagasaki couldn't work with the aircraft factory in Nagoya. Each company had to rebuild relationships with suppliers and customers from scratch. Japan's economy was devastated anyway, but Mitsubishi's pieces were drowning in chaos. Then something unexpected happened. War broke out in Korea in 1950. American policy toward Japan shifted overnight. Instead of keeping Japan weak, the United States needed a strong ally in Asia. Japanese industrial capacity became an asset instead of a threat. American military procurement contracts started flowing to Japanese manufacturers. The fragmented Mitsubishi company suddenly had customers again. Korean War demand changed everything. American forces needed ships repaired, vehicles manufactured, and equipment supplied. The scattered Mitsubishi companies found themselves busy for the first time since 1945. Money started flowing, workers returned, production lines restarted. But more importantly, the companies rediscovered they needed each other. After 1952's treaty, the companies reclaimed the Mitsubishi name and resumed informal coordination via the Friday Club. These weren't official business meetings, just old colleagues sharing information and coordinating quietly. Gradually, they rebuilt the networks that made Mitsubishi effective. Different companies, same relationships. In 1954, several trading companies merged to reform Mitsubishi Corporation. The name was back, the Three Diamonds returned. This wasn't the old Zaibatsu structure. No single family controlled everything. Instead, companies cooperated through cross-shareholding and mutual agreements. They called it a keiretsu, a network of independent companies working together. The momentum built rapidly. In 1964, the three heavy industry companies reunified into Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. The aircraft division resumed operations, the shipyard expanded, the machine business grew. By 1970, they spun off the automotive division as Mitsubishi Motors. Each company operated independently, but shared resources, technology, and markets. What emerged wasn't the old Mitsubishi, it was something more flexible and resilient. The Keiretsu structure spread coordination across dozens of companies without concentrating control in one place. Democratic governance replaced family ownership. Professional management replaced hereditary leadership. This transformation positioned Mitsubishi perfectly for Japan's economic miracle. The network could tackle massive infrastructure projects while staying nimble enough to enter new markets. The companies that rose from Mitsubishi's ashes were ready for their next big decision. By 1970, Mitsubishi Heavy Industries faced a choice: stay focused on Japan or conquer the world. They chose conquest. What happened next transformed a rebuilt Japanese manufacturer into the global heavy machinery powerhouse we know today. But the path wasn't smooth. Economic crises, industry upheavals, and fierce competition nearly derailed their plans multiple times. The transformation started with a smart move. Mitsubishi Motors was spun off in 1970 to focus on automotive, enabling MHI to concentrate on heavy industry. This wasn't about giving up on cars, this was about focus. The automotive business needed different skills, different markets, different strategies. By separating it, Mitsubishi could concentrate on what they did best: building massive, complex industrial machinery that other companies couldn't handle. The company doubled down on power plants, factory equipment, and military hardware. They reclaimed their position as Japan's top military contractor. But more importantly, they started thinking globally. Japanese companies had spent the 1960s rebuilding. The 1970s would be about expansion. MHI wanted to build power plants in Southeast Asia, sell industrial equipment to Europe, and compete with American aerospace companies on their home turf. Then reality hit hard. The 1973 oil shock, followed by the 1979 energy crisis, devastated global trade and crippled shipbuilding, one of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries' core businesses. Oil prices quadrupled, companies stopped ordering new ships, and existing contracts were cancelled. The company's once busy shipyards fell silent, layoffs followed, and its ambitions for global expansion collapsed into a fight for survival at home. The crisis exposed a hard truth. MHI was too dependent on energy-intensive heavy industries. When energy got expensive, demand for big ships and heavy machinery vanished. But the challenges kept coming. Japan's economy started to slow down. Then came the 1990s lost decade, 10 years of economic stagnation that crushed Japanese companies. Traditional manufacturing looked outdated. High-tech startups grabbed headlines. Investors wondered if heavy industry had a future. The company could have retreated. Instead, they got creative. They diversified into power generation equipment, thermal plants, nuclear reactors, gas turbines. As countries modernized their electrical grids, they needed reliable, efficient power systems. MHI built them. They expanded into industrial machinery, compressors for chemical plants, turbochargers for marine engines, specialized equipment for manufacturing. The aerospace division took off. Mitsubishi Heavy Industry partnered with Boeing to manufacture aircraft components. They developed their own regional aircraft programs. Space technology became a major focus. Satellites, launch vehicles, space station modules. These weren't traditional heavy machinery, but they required the same precision engineering and systems integration that the industrial giant had mastered. Expanding overseas meant more than exporting products. In 1980, Mitsubishi Heavy Industry Equipment Europe BV opened in the Netherlands to serve European markets. Local production reduced costs and built relationships with regional customers. Similar facilities opened across Asia and the Americas. The renewable energy boom created new opportunities. In 2014, Mitsubishi Heavy Industry partnered with Vestas to form Mitsubishi Heavy Industry Vestas Offshore Wind, targeting the rapidly growing offshore wind market. These massive turbines combine the company's heavy engineering expertise with cutting-edge renewable technology. Climate change accelerated the transformation. MHI launched Mission Net Zero in 2021, committing to carbon neutrality by 2040. They invested heavily in carbon capture technology, hydrogen power systems, and advanced nuclear reactors. The company that once built coal-fired power plants now develops systems to remove carbon from the atmosphere. Today, MHI operates in over 30 companies. Their products range from gas turbines that power entire cities to satellites that orbit Earth. The strategy worked. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries survived multiple economic crises by staying flexible and thinking long-term. But success brings new challenges. Running a global empire in 2025 means facing problems that would have been unimaginable to Yataro Iwasaki. One of the world's largest industrial conglomerates faces challenges that would have seemed impossible just decades ago. The Mitsubishi Group today looks nothing like the Zaibatsu Yataro Iwasaki built. It's a sprawling network of over 40 companies operating across every major industry. Mitsubishi Motors builds cars and electric vehicles. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries constructs power plants and aircraft. Mitsubishi Electric manufactures everything from elevators to semiconductors. Mitsubishi Corporation trades commodities and invests globally. Each company operates independently, but they're all connected through shared history and cross-shareholding agreements. This diversity used to be a strength. Now it's creating massive headaches. The automotive division is struggling badly. Mitsubishi Motors never fully recovered from the fuel economy scandals that hit in 2000 and 2004, damaging consumer trust across key markets. Southeast Asian operations face additional pressure as market recovery stalls in Thailand and Indonesia. Currency fluctuations make planning impossible. When the Thai baht strengthens, profits disappear overnight. Meanwhile, Chinese automakers flood the market with cheaper electric vehicles. Traditional combustion engines look outdated. The division that spun off from heavy industries in 1970 to focus on cars now faces an existential crisis. Mitsubishi Heavy Industries confronts rising geopolitical risks and severe labor shortages across its operations. The US-China rivalry disrupts supply chains across all Mitsubishi companies. Heavy Industries can't sell certain technologies to Chinese customers. The trading company faces restrictions on commodity deals. Electronic components get caught in export controls. What used to be straightforward business relationships now require teams of lawyers and government approvals. Technology disruption hits every division simultaneously. Artificial intelligence threatens traditional manufacturing processes. Digital transformation demands massive investments and new systems and training. Mitsubishi Electric needs to train 20,000 employees in digital skills just to stay competitive. The company that mastered steam engines and coal mines now struggles with cloud computing and machine learning algorithms. Carbon neutrality pressures create the biggest challenge of all. Governments worldwide demand net zero emissions by 2050. Mitsubishi Electric committed to carbon neutrality by fiscal 2031. Heavy industries must redesign power plants and industrial equipment. The chemical division faces costly restructuring to meet sustainability targets. Every product line needs rethinking. Every factory requires upgrading. The costs are enormous, but the penalties for falling behind are worse. Here's how Mitsubishi is fighting back. The trading company allocated 3 trillion yen for growth investments with targets of 10% cash flow increases. They're not just throwing money at problems, they're betting big on future industries. Portfolio optimization means selling old businesses and buying new ones. The days of keeping every division regardless of performance are over. Heavy Industries shows promising signs, with order backlogs surpassing 5.5 trillion yen, demonstrating strong demand for their advanced technologies. The automotive division made a smart pivot, focusing on OEM-supplied battery electric vehicles and plug-in hybrids instead of competing directly with Tesla and Chinese manufacturers. They can't win on volume, so they're targeting specific niches where their engineering expertise matters. Digital transformation accelerated across all companies. Mitsubishi Electric launched the Serendi platform to integrate AI into manufacturing processes. They're building artificial intelligence into their products. Smart elevators that predict maintenance needs, industrial robots that learn from experience, power systems that optimize themselves automatically. Sustainability initiatives transformed from cost centers into profit drivers. Heavy industries invested heavily in hydrogen technology and carbon capture systems. These aren't just compliance measures, they're new business opportunities. Countries need clean energy solutions. Industries need carbon reduction technologies. Mitsubishi is positioning itself to supply both. The strategy shows early signs of working. The Keiretsu structure that emerged from post-war reconstruction now helps coordinate responses to global challenges. What looked like outdated corporate structure actually provides flexibility that pure holding companies lack. Mitsubishi survived the destruction of World War II and economic upheavals of the past century. The current challenges are different, but not necessarily harder. Whether this industrial empire can reinvent itself once again depends on executing a vision as bold as the one that started it all. It all began with 3 modest steamships and one man's sharp sense of what Japan needed most. In the shadow of a nation in crisis, Yataro Iwasaka didn't just start a company, he lit the fuse for an industrial revolution. What he built would ripple far beyond the docks and shipyards. Today, over 40 Mitsubishi companies stretch across every major sector of Japan's economy, touching everything from banking to satellites, together generating around 14% of the country's GDP. And the 3-diamond crest that once graced the bows of humble cargo ships, you'll now find it on spacecraft orbiting Earth. But Mitsubishi's story isn't just about scale, it's about survival. Time and time again, the company faced the unimaginable: war, collapse, even forced dissolution. And yet each time it came back, sharper, stronger, more ambitious. Shipping gave way to steel, steel gave way to space. That relentless adaptability, more than anything else, is what kept the dream alive. Even their modern electric car, the Aimi EV, carries echoes of Yataro's original blueprint. A self-reliant industrial ecosystem, where everything from the battery to the charging station was part of the same vision. That vision lives on. The 3 diamonds now represent more than just a brand. They're a symbol of a philosophy passed down through generations. Koyata Iwasaki, Yataro's nephew and one of Mitsubishi's great leaders, once declared, "Commerce is a public undertaking requiring responsibility to society." That wasn't just a slogan, it was a compass. And for every Mitsubishi company still flying the flag, it remains the guiding star.